5 seasons in now on The Walking Dead, it's hard to grow attached to new characters. A lot of older core characters still exist, and much like one might actually experience in a zompocalypse, you grow to learn not to get too close to those you run into on the road. Bob's a good example. He was fine, but he perhaps hadn't been around long enough for most viewers to get close to. It's just the nature of show's premise. We grow more callous and distrustful as time goes on. Unless it's a new enemy, our vitals don't usually spike. And so yes, this also applies to Abraham, Eugene and Rosetta. As a fan of the comics, I was happy to see them arrive on the series, but the show hadn't done anything with them thus far to make me invest any of them in a meaningful way. That is until Self-Help, which managed to lift these newish characters out of their respective ruts and fully integrate them into the show in a cool, tragic way. It's just funny that it took their total collapse as a crew for them to come to life. The placement of the episode is curious, seeing as how we've now got 2 cliffhangers still out there causing us anxiety. So there's definitely some odd shuffling going on right now. But I'll take that over having multiple groups share an episode. I'd much rather spend a whole episode with Beth or an entire installment with Abraham's group than to have to cut back and forth between them, despite the fact that we're watching moments that are all taking place around the same time. So instead of giving us Beth Part 2, we put her dilemma on hold to hit the open, undead road with a DC troop. A frustrating stop and start mission for a viewer's standpoint, but once we get to the end and realize that the obstacles and the pitfalls were kind of the point, with everything and anything getting in the way of Abraham's mad desire to keep moving, it felt rewarding. And all of it leading towards a collision between Abraham and Eugene's respective baggage. Abraham needing to fill his mind, distract himself with an important world-saving mission, and Eugene needed to align himself with a group of strong warriors so that he could stay alive. A new twist on the survivor hierarchy. One that Eugene himself, having lied about the entire Human Genome Project, began to feel exponentially more guilty about the group, started making actual headway towards the destination. And a cowardly act that also made him relate to and obsess over Father Gabriel's past inhuman choices with his own congregation. And it all worked out really well. A handful of quick flashbacks showed us Abraham's own tragedy that put him close to death's door. And then the moment when Eugene in a panic told him that he needed a soldier for a top secret mission. And you even sort of get that feeling, given Abraham's level of trauma in that moment, that he knew Eugene was full of shit, deep down. And that he just needed to instantly fill his brain with something else, something to help him momentarily wipe out the memory of his wife and kids. And it's something he's still running from. It's why he doesn't like to sit in one place for too long. Moving keeps his mind off his past and lowers the odds of running into poachers and murderers. That being said, it still destroyed him to hear that it was all a lie. A shock to the system on several levels, as he now had nothing to head towards. No hope of changing the world back to the way it was, and nothing to keep him from remembering his lost family. Rosetta didn't get as full a character elevation as Abraham and Eugene, but this week still marked the first time that we really saw the more intimate side of a relationship with Abraham. Both caring and sexual. And also their weird dynamic with Eugene where they allowed him to watch them having sex. A victimless crime that provides both comfort and distraction, as Eugene puts it. The one thing I didn't truly go all in on in Self-Help was Tara's willingness to lie for Eugene after he almost got all of them killed by sabotaging the bus. I understand that Tara, as someone who previously walked in, was a shameful secret around Maggie, Rick and the rest. Might be more sensitive to people's mistakes, but I wasn't clear whether or not she knew about the whole lie, like that DC was a joke mission, or if she hadn't made that connection yet. Because hiding his full con seemed a bit less believable since she was on the trip along with them, fast friends or not. Glenn and Maggie didn't add too much to the mission except to represent the old guard spot. Maggie talked to Eugene about Samson's odd, out of the strong, something sweet riddle, while Glenn and Abraham bonded a bit over Abraham's needed some ass and crept off to be with Rosetta. A funny moment there amidst Abraham's imposing grimness. Also, some fun chatter about Eugene's mullet, which is strikingly enough to raise suspicions in a walking ravaged wasteland. Bouncing back to the survivor hierarchy element of the season, which, like last week, was on full display here. Abraham mentioned that pretty much everyone was alive now, after a few years of hell was strong, meaning that most of Eugene's and Gabriel's have been weeded out. This makes the group dynamic more interesting as the remaining week have to figure out how to best fit in and survive, but it also makes random walker encounters less exciting. As fun as it was to see Eugene blast zombies to bits with a fire truck cannon, everyone can handle themselves at this point. So walkers, aside from the massive hurt that they came upon, grow more and more into a nuisance than a grave situation. A wild card still, sure, but less of a serious threat as the story stomps on, proving again and again that other human beings are the bigger danger. So what do they all do now? They're not far from the church and could certainly head back. Is it worth it to remain separate from everyone and head north with no clear destination?
New robot adventure that takes place against the backdrop of the fictional San Francisco. It's a huge and beautiful new world, and although the plot
If you find twisted human behavior fascinating and have a penchant for psychological thrillers, Nightcrawler is your film this week.